Hi kids! On March 30th, we celebrated Doctor's Day. This week we had World Health Day, and Healthcare Workers Day is coming up soon. I am sure that all of you have been to a doctor at some point in time. Doctors and nurses are people who study a lot so that they can help other people. Today I'm going to tell you the story of a very brave doctor who helped a lot of people and saved thousands of lives, even though at first she didn't want to. Her name is Ida Scudder. As a young girl, Ida Scudder grew up in India. India is a country in Asia. When she grew up there, she saw a lot of children who didn't have enough to eat. She saw a lot of really sad things. Ida's dad was a doctor in India, and he was a missionary. So he spent his life helping the people of India and telling them about Jesus. Ida loved Jesus, but she did not love India. Her dream when she grew up was to go to the United States, to marry someone rich, to have a lot of money, and to live comfortably. So when Ida became a young woman, she went to the United States and she studied at seminary, where she learned about the Bible. She had a lot of friends, and her friends used to make fun of her, and they would say, "Ida, when you're finished with seminary, are you going to go to India and be a missionary?" And she would always say, "No, that is the last thing I would do. I will not live in India, and I do not want to be a missionary. I want to have a comfortable life and everything that I want here." But one day, Ida's mom got very, very sick in India. So her father called her and said, "Ida, you need to come be with us because your mother is sick." So Ida sailed off for India. And you can imagine what her friends said when she went to India. "Are you going to stay there? Are you going to be a missionary like your dad?" And Ida always said, "No." One night, while Ida was sitting at her desk writing letters, she heard a knock on the door. It sounded very urgent and important. She went to open the door, and there was a rich young Indian man there, and he said, "Please come help me, doctor. My wife is very, very sick. I'm afraid she will die." Ida said, "I am not a doctor. That's my dad. Let me go get him." But the man said, "No, no man can see my wife in my house. If you will not help me, then she will die." And he left. Ida was horrified, but she didn't know what to do. She was not a doctor. She went back and sat down at her desk. A little bit later, she heard another knock at the door. It must be the man. He's come back. He's going to ask my dad to come help his wife. But when she opened the door, it was another man. And this man said to her, "Please come help me. My wife is very, very sick, and she's going to die if I don't get a doctor." "Let me get my father," she said. "He is a doctor. He will help her." The man said, "No. No man has ever seen my wife in her house. If you will not help me, then she will have to die." And he left. Ida went and sat back down at the desk. She was very worried, but she didn't know what to do. She sat down to continue to write, and then she heard another knock at the door. When she went to the door, it was a third man, and this man was the husband of a friend of hers. And he said, "Please, come help me, Dr. Ida. My wife is very sick. If you do not help her, she will die." "No," she said, "I am not a doctor. Please let me get my father. He will help your wife." But the man said, "No man can touch my wife. That would be worse than dying for her. If you will not help her, then she will have to die." And the third man left. Ida could not sleep that whole night. The next morning, she heard the tom-tom drums in the village, and she knew that that meant bad news. 3 people weren't there anymore. And Ida thought, "It's so sad that there's no one here to help the women. There are no doctors to treat the women, and there is no one to tell the women about Jesus." She said to Jesus as she prayed, "You know my heart. You know that I did not want this life. But if this is what you are calling me to do, I will do it." And something changed inside of her. The Bible says in Psalm 37:4, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." Ida was delighting herself in the Lord. She was spending time with him in prayer. And as she did, God changed the desires of her heart. So now her desire was to dedicate her life to be a missionary, a doctor, in the one place that she said she never would. When Ida's mother was completely better, she sailed back to the United States. But this time, she had a different purpose. She was not looking to have a comfortable and easy life. She dedicated herself to years and years of study to become a doctor. And when she had finished her study, she became a missionary and she sailed back to India. And she was even able to build a hospital there. She hadn't been there for 2 years when a terrible famine hit the land. There was not enough food for the people in India. People would walk 100 miles just to get to Ida's hospital because they knew that she would give them good, quality health care and that she also loved them. This gave her the opportunity to heal their bodies and to tell them about Jesus. When the famine was over and the people had enough food to eat, people knew Ida and they came to see her. One day a woman came and she had a little baby who was blue. He was blue because no one had taken care of the baby after it was born. Ida said, "Why haven't you taken care of this baby?" And the woman said, "He was born on the wrong day."
She believed that since the baby had been born on the wrong day, she should be left to die.
Ida adopted that baby. She wound up adopting more and more children and raising them as her own. Soon Ida Scudder developed a system where she would travel and go to different villages and take them medical care.
In one village, the people didn't know why they were so sick. She found out that they had been drinking water with worms in it. She taught them how to filter their water. In another village, she met a man who was sad. When she asked him what was the problem, he said he'd spent all his money on a man who said he would get the flies out of his ears. But the buzzing was still there. "I don't have money to get any more flies out," he said. Ida checked his ear and removed the stone that was really causing the buzzing.
She taught them how to live healthy lifestyles. And then she even started training Indian women to be doctors and nurses too. And you know what? The hospital that she founded still stands in India. It's one of the best hospitals in India, and people still go there to this day to receive care. God did all of this with one little girl who learned how to delight herself in the Lord. She spent time with Him, and God changed her life and used her in amazing ways to help many people. Now, I want you to imagine, is there any limit on what God can do with you? Get to know Him and spend time with Him. You will be amazed. Thank you for listening to today's missionary story. I hope to see you soon.